I've been seeing what you've been saying, Falcons fans, and there are a large number of you who have been coming at me in the comment section of the last couple of videos when I call the Atlanta Falcons defense outstanding during the 2025 season. And not to call anyone out in particular, but I feel like if you're going to call me out, then it's all fair game to call you out. This specific comment says, the Falcons defense is not outstanding. They gave up 27 to a backup quarterback without their number one wide receiver. And again, they gave up another 27 points. Whatever this says, here's what I want to tell you. Not only is that incorrect, that the Falcons defense is not outstanding, if that makes sense. I think it is fantastic. And if anybody thinks the Falcons defense isn't a top unit in the NFL, I'm here to prove to you exactly why they are and why they are so much better at this point than last year after 4 weeks. But don't you just love that Victory Monday feeling? Hit that thumbs up icon for good vibes. If you love Falcons victories, don't be the guy that jinxes it and doesn't get it going into the bye. Hit that thumbs up button and help set the mood. So let's talk about the points scored specifically against the Falcons. Week 1 against the Buccaneers, 23. Week 2 against the Vikings, they only scored 6. You're going to notice something here. Week 3 against the Panthers with a little asterisk next to it. It says 23. And then, of course, Week 4 against the Commanders, 27. Moose, didn't the Panthers beat the Falcons 30-0? Well, yes, but if you remember, Michael Penix Jr. threw a pick 6. That's not a defensive scoring against. That's offense giving up points. So actually, the Panthers only scored against the Falcons 23 total points on offense, meaning that the Falcons are averaging through 4 weeks 19.75 points per game allowed. That's 14th in the NFL. That's fantastic. I don't care what you say. I don't care if you say, well, it has to be in the top 10 for it to be elite or outstanding. Compared to where this team was not only last year, but in the couple of years prior to this with their defense, this is a much new and improved Dirty Birds defense. And I'm tired of people telling me that the defense is not the strength of this team. And then you had that comment. Well, Marcus Mariota scored 27 points against the Falcons. Yeah, but if you look at the numbers that Mariota put up, he put up backup-like numbers. So if you're going to say that Marcus Mariota went out and scored 27, you can't use that he's a backup in your argument when his numbers look like this. So you either get to praise Marcus Mariota for putting up 27, but then you also have to take the bad stats here, or you can't use it at all. And to be completely honest with you, if I went back and looked at all of the passer ratings that the Falcons have played so far, or allowed, so far in 2025. Let's just go week by week. Baker Mayfield had the highest. He had a 99.3. That's a pretty good passer rating. J.J. McCarthy had a passer rating of 37.5. That's dog water. And then you get back more into the middle. So you take the high, you take the low, you shove them away, and then you get back more towards the means. Bryce Young only had a quarterback rating, or a passer rating, of 78.6. And then Marcus Mariota with an 84.8. What's the overall takeaway from this? This defense has not allowed a passer rating of over 100 all season long. That is a major improvement from 2024. So not only are the Falcons a better defense, but they are improving in the one area that we all said they needed to improve upon, which was their pass defense, their secondary. All right, well, Moose, it looks fine. But what does it look like compared to where the Falcons were at last year? I'm glad you asked. Nobody. Look at the left. That's 2024 statistics. 2025 is on the right. We're better in yards allowed. We're better in points allowed. We're better in sacks. We're better in turnovers forced. And we have the exact same record. By the way, this is, of course, week 3 when the Falcons scored 0 points and lost. And then also when they lost to the Buccaneers in week 1 when Younghoe Koo missed a field goal to take it to overtime. So anything can happen in that game. And you had an embarrassment, an uncharacteristically bad performance from the offense in week 3. And you're going to sit here and tell me that the defense is not great? Stop. I said this yesterday on the show as well. The secondary is scary good when we can generate pressure on the opposing quarterback. But that's not just a Falcons statistic. You can look all over the NFL, and the teams with the best pass rushes usually have the best secondary. It's very rare to see a really great pass rush and a really bad secondary. The only one that I can find was last year's Baltimore Ravens, which were like third in the league in sacks and bottom 10 in passing yards allowed. It's almost an anomaly because the faster you get to the quarterback, the more errant throws happen, the better your defense has of being sticky in coverage. And I also said yesterday, this Falcons secondary is probably the best it's been in years. A.J. Terrell, who when he gets back is your best corner. Billy Bowman Jr. and Xavier Watts, the dynamic rookie duo, have been outstanding. Jesse Bates, one of the best safeties in the league. And, of course, Mike Hughes, who did get burned on a touchdown pass yesterday, but for the most part throughout the season has been pretty good. So if your worst corner has been pretty good, I'll take that. I'll take that. Especially, you know this better than anybody. The Falcons secondary has been garbage the last couple of years. So if you've been impressed with the defense as a whole so far, and there's, trust me, stuff to improve upon, do me a favor. Type I for impressed or N for not in the comment section down below. I hope that clarified just how good this defense is getting. So when I tell you 2 weeks ago that I'm not concerned about the defense, and then they go out and they put up the statistics like they did against the Washington Commanders, who, by the way, have a multitude of weapons despite not having Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin. It was a very, very good performance in Week 4. And overall, this defense has been very impressive since Week 1. Now, coming up next, I'm going to tell you an injury update on Darnell Mooney. Don't worry, it's good news. However, I think there is some room for some concern when it comes to number 1 on the Dirty Birds. Now, before I do that, I'm going to tell you about our friends over at Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. It is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can now pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Do you want to pick more on Josh Allen's passing yards, rushing yards, and touchdowns? Boy, I hope not against the Dirty Birds in Week 6. But if you wanted to, you could pick all 3 of those things in the exact same lineup, only on Prize Picks. How does it work? How do you play? You pick your player. You pick the more or the less on their stat projections. You send that bad boy in, and you watch your money multiply. Up to 2,000 times your money with Prize Picks. So do me a favor. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Let's talk Darnell. You know, when he came over from the Bears, I was a little skeptical because he was coming off of playing with Justin Fields, and they just didn't know how to use him in Chicago. Chicago was a dumpster fire under Matt Eberflus at the time. But then you saw Darnell Mooney really find his pacing and his fit with the Dirty Birds. And then this year, being sidelined for the majority of the summer with a shoulder injury, is now dealing with a hamstring issue that had him sidelined after, I think it was the third quarter of this last week's game against the Commanders. Here's the good news. Ian Rappaport came out and said that Darnell Mooney suffered that hamstring injury, but with the bye week coming up, should not miss any time. So he will be back most likely for the game against the Buffalo Bills in Week 6. That's the good news. Here's the other thing. You'll need Darnell Mooney down the stretch of the season. I get it. He was injured. He's still getting a little bit of bad luck right now. You've got a gauntlet of a game coming up next. I'm not worried about the Buffalo Bills game. I'm worried about the slew of games in the middle where the Falcons have the clear advantage on paper roster-wise. They will need Darnell Mooney to be better than he's been in 2025. His stats are not good. In 3 games played, he's caught less than half of his targets for 79 yards, no touchdowns, and 11.3 is all right. significantly down from where it was in 2025 or 2024. Now, we could argue all day back and forth. Is this a product of Darnell Mooney not being nearly as good? Is it because of his injury? Is it because of Zach Robinson? Maybe it's a combo of all three. But I do believe this. He's still getting into football shape. There's a difference between being in shape and being in football shape. Everybody was talking about how he was staying in shape during his injury during the summer. Well, there's a huge difference between taking care of your body and being ready to play at a high level on the football field. Any football player will tell you that. And right now, the Falcons wide receiver depth chart needs him because, truth be told, outside of Drake London, it's slim pickings right now. Casey Washington hasn't been nearly as good as advertised. Kaderil Hodge hasn't played. Jamal Agnew just came back. David Sills is a non-factor. And Ray McLeod sometimes looks great and other times disappears. And I said yesterday, where I gave Zach Robinson credit, this bait and bomb offensive game plan that he had seemed to work. He trusted Michael Penix Jr. to throw the ball down the field. He baited the Washington Commanders up with multiple runs in a row and then took the top off the defense. I think it works. But it only works if you have multiple players that can stretch the field. And granted, Kyle Pitts was able to get up the seam, which was great. But you will need Darnell Mooney to be at his very best if this team is going to make a playoff push. And I apologize. I'm still kind of getting over my sickness, so kind of losing my voice here. But if you want to show some love to Darnell Mooney, type those ones in the comments. I need you to show our wide receiver, too, that he is loved, that he is going to get back on the field, and that he is ready to dominate after the NFL bye week. And speaking of which, adjustments must be made heading into the bye. That doesn't mean the Falcons have sucked so much that they have to completely scrap everything. But I think if we pick apart the areas they need to get better at, they have a very, very good chance at being a competitive team against the Buffalo Bills, who, by the way, were taken to the ropes by the New Orleans Aints. And if the Aints can take it to you, then you can by far win this football game. That's going to do it for us on today's episode, Falcons fans. A reminder to rise up, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, be cool.